my name is Sloan Dixon. This is how you're going to change the front brake pads on a 2015 Kia Sorento. My mom took it to the dealer and they asked for $250 to do all of this. But if you do it yourself, you can get it done for $70. You're going to need your brake pads, some gloves of some kind so you don't get, muck everywhere. You're going to need a breaker bar and your lug nut size socket for the wheels, deep set of sockets, a compressor, a jack, and 2 jack stands. So the first thing you're going to do when you're changing the brake pads is you're going to set the emergency brake. That way your car doesn't roll when you're braking the lug nuts. Then you're going to take a 21mm deep socket and start braking all the lug nuts. Alright, so you may notice that my attire is a little bit different. That's because during our editing we may have lost one of the clips, and so we're here to refilm that. And this is where we're going to jack up the car. And you're going to need to jack up your car on jack points right here. Come here. Come. Underneath on the frame, you can see there's this metal bit down along here. Right there. You're just going to place your jack up against that and start jacking up your car. Then you're going to put your jack stand next to your jack point, also on the frame. Then you can just let down your car onto the jack stand. Now that you've done one side, you have to do the other and get both sides of the car in the air. Now that you have both sides in the air, it's time to take the wheels off. First thing you're going to do is take off the lug nuts. If they're too hard to pull off, set your car down and use a cheater bar to loosen them more. Tires off, you're going to take off the caliper, which houses the brake pads, by loosening these 2 bolts. You're going to take the bottom one off completely and just loosen the top one so you can rotate it up and over. Now you're going to take off your brake pads by just pulling these out and away. Make sure not to touch the rotor, otherwise you're going to leave grime and dirt on there that might end up harming it. When you take off these clips here, all you have to do is push up on the back and it should come right off. And up top you're going to do the exact opposite. Pull down on both sides and it should come right off. Alright, then you're going to take your new clips from the bag that comes with your kit. Doesn't matter which 2 they are, they're all the same. And you're just going to take it and place it in and then down. Should snap in, and on the upper you're just going to take it like this, push it in, and then in the back. It should snap in like that. When you get the pack and open it, it should have 4 different brake pads. 2 of them will look like this, with this little metal bit here, and 2 of them will not have that. Doesn't matter which side as long as you have 1 of each one. This one's going to go in the front out here, and this one's going to go in the back. Before you put it on, make sure you put on the grease that comes with the pack so that it doesn't overheat. Now, when you put on the brake grease, make sure you don't put it on this side at all, otherwise your brakes aren't going to work very well, or at all. Don't put it on this part back here, just put it on these knobs on the end. Now you're going to put your greased brake pad in, and when you put it in, you're going to make sure that it's facing the same way as the rotation of the rotor, and you're just going to slide it in the bottom and the top, and then push it in flush with the rotor. And now the back one. Make sure that this clip is on the upper part and that it fits the rotation of the rotor. Push it in flush. What you're going to do to compress the caliper back so that you can actually fit it over the new brake pads is you're going to take one of your old worn down brake pads, fit it up against the caliper, and take a compressor, fit it over top, and just start squeezing it in. Now you're just going to slide this back down and over top your brake pads. And on the bottom, this thing here is going to be in the way. You'll see it's out. Just tug on it in and it should slide right into place. Now you're going to take your last bolt and put it back in the bottom. And then you're going to use your ratchet and tighten it on again. Make sure you tighten the top one as well because that one was loosened so you could rotate the caliper. Alright, so now you're going to bleed your brakes, and in order to do that, you're going to take off this little knob right here and use a 10mm socket to loosen this up. Once you do that, you're going to pump the brakes a couple times and some fluid should squirt out. Then you're just going to tighten it back up and put the cap back on. Now we're just going to put the tire back on, which is going to be rather heavy. When you put your lug nuts back on, make sure you do it in the star pattern, going either across from itself, from the one that you just put back on, or going two to the right. You also are going to want to use no power tools or any air tools to put these back on, otherwise you're going to be damaging your threads. Now that you've put your tire back on and you've moderately tighten the lug nuts, it's time to do the exact same thing on the other side. Now that you've done both sides, it's time to set your car back down. So you're just going to pump your car up off the jack stand. Pull it out and then let it down. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Now it's time for the last step, which is retightening or sealing all of your lug nuts. You're going to take your cheater bar and just tighten them and go in the star pattern again. Do this on both sides and you're done. So we just saved $150 by doing our brake pads by ourselves. It didn't take us that long, fairly easy. If you have any questions, then either comment them or email me, and I'll see you on the track.